Hey there, we're the Westlot Pirates and welcome to the show. We're here to share our thoughts on Northwestern athletics and college sports with thoughts and analysis from the visceral to the statistical. We run our tailgate with the red pirate flag flying high above as we give no quarter, especially the fourth. I'm Sam Walter.
I'm John Lacombe.
And I'm Eric Skouspo.
Hope everyone had a nice Thanksgiving. Hope people weren't too affected by the massive snowstorm that hit the Midwest, not just Chicago, but kind of everywhere around the Midwest. I know I, for one, was comfortably watching the game on Saturday from my couch.
Props to anyone who
thankful.
went.
I was very thankful I was not at that game because that just looked miserable.
Yeah.
Hey, good seats still available.
Yeah, right.
For anyone who didn't clock it or didn't watch it, they literally shut down half the stadium. I assume the half where the wind was blowing and the snow was piling up, and told everybody else, sit wherever you want. Amusingly, though, the camera angles were all focused on the far side where there were zero fans, and that was pretty entertaining.
Yeah. It was. It kind of felt like COVID era, even though you could hear the crowd a little bit, but...
it didn't make me think of COVID era. It made me think of the year that Illinois tried to do a card trick and show some symbol in the stands against us and didn't have enough fans.
That's right. I remember.
Still my favorite.
Yeah,
still my
fantastic. Favorite. Anywho, I mean, first half snow was falling. I mean, it was a true snow game. Second half, I guess the snow stopped. They cleaned off the turf, and it was just sort of a cold, miserable, chilly game in the second half of the game. And I mean, just the whole game it was a weather game. It was a snow game. It was disjointed. There was no flow. Obviously, the injuries going into it. Finding out a few hours before the game that Komolafe was questionable, and then really quickly putting two and two together that questionable on a day of that snow and that weather really meant out. And then Joe Hyman gets hurt on the second play of the game. So we have Robbie Preckle as our number one running back for the entire game. Credit to him. I mean, 82 yards on 22 carries, not great, but, definitely for your fifth string running back, can't get too mad at that.
Almost all of that production was in the first half, and this is where the chickens come home to roost in a game where you're missing Komolafe, your go-to running back, for a team whose clear stated, etched in stone identity is a running team, and then Hyman gets knocked out with a hip drop tackle on the second or third play of the game.
Second play of the game, yeah.
Awful.
And credit to the guys for the way they played in the first half and having the success that they had. I felt like the entire second half, and this is in no way am I absolving all of the bad Lujan habits that reared their ugly head in this game, but you could just feel the screws tightening in the second half, and this team having nowhere to go to establish that flow, that rhythm you were talking about, Sam. I actually don't think I thought the weather was certainly there, but I don't feel like it affected this game. You saw the milkman hitting field goals. I thought the ball was coming out of Preston Stone's hand better than I've seen it all year. People are hammering him on the picks, and one was one of the worst interceptions that we've seen thrown. The other two were both tip drills. And I this game in the second half felt like there was no way out unless we got really lucky and got some breaks, and they never came.
I mean, we became completely one-dimensional, completely one-dimensional, and Illinois just sat back and was like, okay, you're going to throw the ball. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm of a bunch of minds here. I think that the prevailing thing, first of all, Illinois is not a good defensive football team. And everyone who just tuned in to watch this game or hasn't been following Illinois closely this season needs to know Illinois is not a good defense. That's not a good defensive football team. And you should factor that in when you look at our absolute offensive futility in the second half of this football game. We were down running backs. We were starting an enormous guy, Robbie Preckle, who Lujan has clearly loved all season. I mean, that's why we've been seeing him in random spots from the very beginning of the season, I think, to just everyone's surprise. And this team just went wire to wire without basically any injuries or any substitutions with one of the greatest offensive lines Northwestern football has ever seen. 12 games. Those same guys played the entire 12 games. Not only the top 5, you can throw Deuce McGuire in there too. Northwestern had its best 6 guys from a very good offensive line the entire season. And I'm of two minds where, one, there's the utter offensive futility in this game, particularly in the second half. And like juxtaposed with like what are we going to do? Like beat a dead horse here? Like I'm not here to just like kick everyone and just like go off and, just be like, oh, this was bad on offense. This was bad on offense. This was bad on offense. It's, we just did 24 games of the Lujan era. I think the die is pretty well cast here. I think we all pretty well understand that. I think this was pretty much the swan song, and we probably see, he probably gets a bowl game, and that's probably it. But so I mean, it's a bummer.
I mean, don't count your chickens yet.
No, I'm not kicking, and obviously we don't know anything, and I'm not speaking in absolutes, but I think there's obviously a lot of frustration. A lot of people are really mad. I think the specific point I would zero in on was the field goal we kicked late in this game, right? To go, instead, I think it was 4th and 3. Is that what it was?
Yeah. I mean, we get the turnover. God, we need. You saw the turnovers. Like he needed to score,
right?
You guys know what this game was.
Yeah,
this game was the effing Duke game from last year all over again.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And that's
right.
And the thing is like with this field goal. Right, everyone's talking about like, should we have kicked the field goal? Should we have not kicked the field goal? What are analytics? How do you evaluate, being down 4 like that late in the game? David Braun kicked that field goal because we weren't converting that 4th and 3. That's why he kicked the field goal. We all know that. We weren't getting that. We weren't getting it. Whatever play it was going to be, we weren't going to get in the end zone. And that's the depth that we had gotten to in that game, where Braun was basically like, we had 1st and goal from the 1. I either light another down on fire or we get 3 points out of this. And it's super frustrating. And yes, we were down running backs, but this is a team with a big-time quarterback, a big-time quarterback we brought in through the portal. 2 wide receivers who are playing excellent football right now, not just Wildy, but Hayden Elegon, and this awesome offensive line. And again, it's like, it's 24 games. None of the offensive failures in this game are happening in a vacuum. They're happening in the context of everything else. But again, I'm like, I'm not here to kick someone while they're down. It just is what it is.
I just like to connect that to a point I made earlier. I mean, like the no running backs, the screws tightening, the nowhere to kind of go in the second half without our identity. That's just how I felt watching the game. Like that doesn't absolve the 24 games of failure inside of the 5-yard line. I mean, to start on the 1 after that turnover and not be able to do anything. The random and inexplicable bow plays that continue to pop up with very little effect or success. I mean, it's this game was a microcosm of the whole Lujan experience and all the bad habits, whether it was conservatism or lack of flow or over reliance on a particular aspect, not finding. I mean, this is a bad defense. Where were the matchups we were trying to exploit, the things we were trying to do to them? This didn't look any different from anything else we had done, and it wasn't until you started talking about the field goal and just the fact that drive started on the 1-yard line, and we not just failed to score, but backed up 7 yards and just felt futile. It just reminded me of the second half of that Duke game and how many times in that Duke game we were inside of the 10. and it's kind of bookends on the Lujan era, if you will.
Yeah. I think and the flip side of it is, and this is the thing, is like I obviously like these negatives will be like the things people remember. Our defense was unreal in the second half of this football game. It was just
Yeah.
particularly down the stretch when it was like, that like brutal not getting anything inside the goal and then like multiple turnovers and then the D just keeps stopping them again and again. And it's like, I mean, Fitzgerald continues to be incendiary. This is, I mean, I don't know how much louder we have to scream it. This is the best safety in the conference. He's been the best safety in the conference. We put it up tonight. There are only 4 other players in the Big Ten who are even within 10 solo tackles of his performance this year. He's just everywhere doing everything. Uline, I mean, he's, it's like we're going to call these stat lines like the U-line. Like he has 90-something tackles, 4 interceptions, and a pick. There's like almost no other players in the nation that have a line like that. He was awesome. And then, Carmine Bastone is out there. There's just running around in the snow. I mean, it's amazing. And credit to Altmaier and his, escapability. But just watching Bastone in particular, just have a couple specific memories of Bastone at 310 pounds or whatever, just chasing Altmaier all over the field in the snow and being like, what a motor, like what ability from these guys. I mean, the D absolutely clamped down in the second half. I mean, they've had some great performances this year. This is one of their very best.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what else to say. I mean, there's not. I mean, it's like it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I mean it's and I had and we talked about the weather and we talked about how crazy this is, and I think I wouldn't say steeled myself, but I think most of Northwestern football fandom was going into this game being like, well, this has all basically been reduced to a coin flip because this game is a total blizzard. There are like 2 people there. This game could be in any stadium. There's no home field advantage. It's, but then with the weather being so effectively clear in the second half and it not seeming like it was much of a factor on what was going on the field, it was a super dampening thing. And, we'll get to it in a little bit, but obviously the coaching carousel and events of the coaching carousel have a way of coming in like a hammer on the back of this and kind of, immediately being like, well, now what? Well, now what does this mean for us? And look at these other events that are happening. And this was a really big game for a lot of guys. I mean, I was thinking about 3 guys in particular: Jackson Carcello, Carmine Bastone, Mac Uline. Those are all Illinois guys. This was their last game in the state of Illinois for every one of them. And those are all players who've been linchpins for us, right? And not just linchpins, but I think like players who've really represented like that successful development of the Braun era. I mean, I think of Uline, years back, this was a guy who was like, a big recruit, and we were like, when is he going to get on the field? Like, when is it going to happen? Is he actually going to get out there? And then over the past 2 years, he's just been incredible. And of course, like Bastone and Carcel's development's like borderline legendary. Like those 2 guys basically have gotten better their entire time they were at Northwestern. And it's like, it's like you want to take a moment and be like, let's take a moment and like savor what this was for these guys and some of these guys that have done such amazing things for us.
Yeah, and like I feel like we'll be able to do that with a little bit more space. I mean, we have a bowl game, which is great. I mean, like you can put this game in the rearview mirror and say, you know what, we got one more game with all these guys. We got one more game with this O-line. We got one more game with this defense. I hope Hyman's okay. Kind of reading between the lines, reading, kind of the tweets and all that coming out. It sounds like, when he's out there cursing the hip drop tackle, that's just, code for kind of a major injury.
It ain't good. Yeah.
But you hope Kamalafe's back for the bowl. Like there's the 15 practices we get for the bowl game. We're recording this on Monday. you mentioned the coaching carousel. That is in full bore, and we'll get to that in a sec. But like, there is potential for a lot of changes between now and whenever the bowl game is.
I'm just going to go out
ahead.
on a limb a change that I want to see between now and the bowl game.
Yeah.
And it kind of is directly opposite something you said earlier, John. I would like to see them replace Lujan, and maybe it's a temporary OC or something. But like watching, I've talked about this many times this year, but watching Iowa and watching Gronowski without a passing game, with a good but not exceptional Iowa offensive line or core of running backs, decimate teams on the ground, to see them put up 40 on Nebraska this past weekend in a rivalry game in the snow. I think I am viewing Lujan through that lens now, almost exclusively, of he is so entrenched in the running perspective that it has colored the way he has coached our quarterbacks the last 2 years. And what is inexplicable is with 2 running QBs last year, we didn't leverage them that way. And then without a running QB this year, it's just such a strange confluence of events that I think belies the youth of Lujan as a coach, and also just like the lack of comfort or confidence in purple for whatever reason. And I assume that the best option for Northwestern, no matter what, is to have Preston Stone start the bowl game and play the bowl game. I think it matters for Northwestern to try to win this game.
You got it.
Yeah.
And I think the best way to maximize that is to leverage a coordinator who is more comfortable coaching a passing attack that leverages the Wilde, the Elegon, the Stone, the effectiveness of this offensive line, and can bring a balanced modern attack to take advantage of a QB with his arm. And yeah, he's got some deficiencies reading and with accuracy, he's not a perfect quarterback. I'm not suggesting that, but I would like to see Northwestern have a interim OC for the bowl game.
And there's precedence. Just today, Nebraska just fired their DC.
Yeah, this happens everywhere all the time.
There's no reason why we can't make a move now. And yeah, maybe we don't we're not going to install a whole new system, but you make the change.
The only reason
you move forward.
The only reason not to do it, frankly, is if you want to bring Lujan back next year and you want to give him these 5 weeks of practices, or however many weeks of practices it is, to install, enhance, evolve whatever the offense is today in preparation for spring and for next year. And I just think that it would be a terrible choice, and so I don't think we should make it.
And the other thing too is and this is, in some ways, it's old ground. It's ground that we've talked about before, but I think I agree with everything you said, and I think another way to look at it too is you can look at this. You can almost positively phrase it from a Braun perspective and be like, look, the past 3 years of Northwestern football, including this year, include 3 of the 4 best Northwestern seasons in the past 7 years, including the best 3 standard seasons of the past 7 years. And the common thread through those 3 seasons have been David Braun and Tim McGarrigle. And there are other threads too, including like Christian Smith on the defensive line, for example. But that's the beating heart of this team.
O'Boyle's the other one that I think deserves mention.
And O'Boyle coming in on the O line, right? And I think it's like those are the core units, and it's a good piece of core units. And obviously, in the case of Braun, and we've talked about this too, any discussion of David Braun and his performance over the past couple of years has to start with like there's no Northwestern fan who can talk about this with big like talk about David Braun without being like, thank you for throwing the rope down into the well that we were at the bottom of, on and off the field, and pulling us out of this. And his the record that he's put up, I mean, yes, it could be better, but I mean, it's all relatively speaking like a grain of salt in terms of like what he's accomplished on the field, the way he's conducted himself off the field with humility, forthright. He has just been just an ace of a human being for his time here. There's not anyone who hasn't fallen in love with this guy. At the same time, it's like there obviously wins and losses in football is like a brutal business, and I think there are people right now who think Braun is not safe, and we don't know one way or the other. I think if that Minnesota field goal doesn't drift wide and Minnesota beats us in overtime, I think it's very much on the table. I don't want that to be true. I love David Braun. I really like this guy. I like everything about him. I want him to win here at Northwestern. But I think where this all comes down to is like this is the kind of situation where it's like you kind of want that thing to be like, it's Braun, it's McGarrigle, we're going forward. David Braun in every way has earned the opportunity to pick another offensive coordinator that he really needs to get right and move forward. But I think that's where we all know this is right now.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting even more specifically the you mentioned on field, you mentioned off field, John. I think every broadcast talks about Braun and how he took over from Fitz and all the stuff. I think what is lost in that is just how horrible Northwestern's defense was the 2 years before David Braun arrived.
Yeah, awesome point.
Yeah.
And in 3 years, Braun has overseen the rebirth of Northwestern's defense and defensive culture, the complete rebuild of our offensive line, getting to the point of one of the best that we can remember seeing, certainly the last 2 decades. 2005 is the last time we had no line performing at this level, in my opinion. And that doesn't mean we haven't had stars and great development, along the way. But the way this unit has performed this year, and health has certainly been a big piece of that. But there's depth there too, and we've known that there's been depth there. And the times where somebody has been knocked out, we have not missed a beat. Those 2 things are massive. Those are 2 of the cornerstones of football performance, and to have been able to achieve that in his first 3 years as a head coach at a program that he was not hired to be head coach at when he was brought here, is really something. And whether or not he can carry this success forward at Northwestern, I don't know. I can't say that. Whether or not the administration and Mark Jackson feels good enough about the excitement and the buzz, the leadership of Braun to take this program into a new area in the new stadium, I don't know. I have no idea. But like the on-field rebirth, refinding of this team and what they are and what they can be to achieve 2 bowls in 3 years, despite, frustration at quarterback, frustration with the offense, like, welcome to the last 15 years of Northwestern football.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, we talked about that, like, you have to go, like, the last time we had a guy throw for, 300 yards regularly was even pre-Thorson days. It has been forever, and that doesn't, and I'm not giving up on it. That's the next thing. That is the next thing for Braun to figure out how to do, is how to build a modern offense at this school.
Right.
Others have done it in the past.
Yeah, you just nail that hire.
Yeah, exactly. So in that vein, I just, like, all of the off-field stuff notwithstanding, there's still a lot of great things to talk about and highlight with regards to Braun. That's not me kind of stumping for him. It's just trying to call a spade a spade.
Yeah, totally. The one other piece to talk about, and obviously this will bear forward during the bowl game, and hopefully, like, if we're putting a ribbon on the Preston Stone experience with that bowl game, it's a positive one. I think Stone's run at Northwestern here is fascinating in that I think as Northwestern fans, we are all so used to living at one extreme or the other with our quarterbacks that when a Stone who's like just solid middle, right? Like I mean, it's just like it's like there's so much like urge to lump him in one category or the other and be like, this guy had flames coming out of his eyes a week ago against Minnesota and is a massive, if not the reason we won that football game. And he won at Penn State, which the list of Northwestern quarterbacks who have done that is like, as small a list as it gets, right? And of course, there were games like the Illinois game, and there were games like the Tulane game, etc. It's just, at the end of the day, the Preston Stone experience comes in somewhere in the middle. And there's just not just transfer quarterbacks, but really all Northwestern quarterbacks. Like, there's like, I suppose this would end up somewhere in with like those Trevor Siemian, Kane Coulter shared experiences that were always kind of like a little bit all over the place. And it's like, it's somewhere in there. It's in that gray area.
I want to look at Preston Stone kind of game by game, not game by game, but like you take away the Tulane game, you take away the Illinois game, he only threw 5 interceptions. The rest in the rest of the games combined.
It is
2 against Oregon.
There were a lot of almosts.
Yeah,
sure. No,
the ball he did not keep the ball out of harm's way. Now that being said, he's also been arguably one of the more aggressive QBs that we've had over the past 7 years. Is that fair to say?
I'd say so, for sure.
I mean, and there's some good and some bad that comes with that. But I mean, I think about the years we were all screaming of like, this was the swan song of the McCall years, right? There are guys open downfield. You can see it. You don't even need the all 22 to see that there are guys open downfield, and he's throwing into the flat. Scared of throwing across the middle, scared of throwing deep, not confident in arm strength or catching ability, etc. Preston Stone is not afflicted by that fear.
No.
Now, maybe the pendulum swings a little too far the other way, but like when you see what he and Wilde or he and Elegon have been able to do when they've connected, and it kind of goes back to like another thing I've been harping on all year, the Dan Person mantra: go make a play. I would rather have that and die by some tipped picks and some mistakes. I'd rather have that than to squirrel away and suffocate of our own accord.
Yeah. I really wish there was a way to like keep track statistically of tipped picks versus not, because like, two of the 3 interceptions, like you said, in the game against Illinois were tipped. I mean, it's a receiver didn't get his total hands on it, but it not necessarily Stone's fault. I wish there was a way to kind of differentiate those. Yeah,
again, it's like not giving Preston Stone a pass here, right? I mean, it's just like there were great moments, there were bad moments. It's like, I wish him all the best. I'm happy he came here. They thank him for coming in. Obviously, like we wanted it to go better, but that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that we still don't have Preston Stone running off the field at Penn State. It doesn't mean that we don't still have Preston Stone leading us to a bowl win last week. There were great moments. It was up and down, to say the least. But I mean, it's like, there are great moments that we're going to remember that Preston Stone's attached to, and I'm psyched about that.
And again, we still have one more game.
Yep.
Whether that's
put a capper on it.
Whether that's in Detroit, in Ford Field, whether that's in Chase Field in Phoenix, which seem to be kind of the 2 games that people are projecting us going to, one or the other, it's going to be a good weather game. So you take the elements out of it, because at Chase the Arizona game, that's in the Diamondback Stadium, which you could throw the roof on if you need to, and then obviously Ford Field being an inside stadium as well. So, the weather no longer is a factor. So now you can like do some different things.
It's
hopefully.
I'm looking at, and again, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, and maybe I am. Maybe I'm going a little too far down this road. Maybe I've saved a lot of my bullets here for the end of the year, but like,
fair enough. I mean,
I can't help thinking about Stone and his development, and that, I mean, Lujan is the QB coach.
Yeah.
And he's a QB coach and an offensive coordinator who has made his hay with dual threat QBs for years, and is trying to coach a guy that doesn't run, and not doesn't run by choice, but is not a dual threat QB. He's a pro style quarterback, and there's a real misfit here that the coaching staff, Braun included, kind of has to own, not figuring out a better way to approach this. And when you couple that with like our pleas last year for Jack to run the ball more, and our confusion at the Mike Wright experience and how and why that didn't work, and it starts to feel like, well, none of these guys are Gronowski, so it's not working.
Yeah,
it's not, and that's a shitty thing for me to say out loud. But like, I wonder. Again, I wonder if there's an OC with a strong record for coaching pass first QBs, who would entertain the idea of coming here and coaching up this offense for the next 5 weeks and taking a flyer on an opportunity.
So I just realistically, do we think that even has a chance of happening though? I mean, I hate to be pessimistic, but like
probably not. I mean, unless there's somebody on staff, Zach Martin's the assistant QB coach, doesn't seem like the right fit. There's nobody really on the offensive side that's got the tenure or the experience to lean in and play that role. So I think it's probably unlikely that you're going to hire somebody unless it's your long-term hire. I am seeing Demetrius Fields as director of player engagement. That guy knows something about good QB play.
Speaking of guys who wore number 8,
but real talk, it is wishful thinking probably. I mean, like you look at the staff and the experience and the strength with maybe Bill O'Boyle, but again, like as an O-line guy, like I think I know where his bread is probably buttered, and it's pretty much where we are today. So it's a little bit of wishful thinking, but I guess I just feel, unlike in past years where I've been probably more hesitant to give voice to things that I thought were highly improbable, to just put a stake in the ground and said, to your point, John, this is week 24. We know this doesn't work.
Yeah,
it's not going to work, and it is what it is, and so I'm just expressing my desire for them to do something different in the short term, even if it is unlikely, even if it is like a very un-Northwestern thing to do. I did see like somebody mentioned on Twitter this week, like Jonathan Smith is available.
Yeah,
which made me chuckle for a whole lot of reasons. But why not? Why not? Who says no?
I am loath to say this out loud because I don't want to put this into the ether. But like, real talk, there's a non-zero chance that they keep Lujan for next year. Right?
There is a non-zero chance that they keep Lujan for next year. I think it's probably better than, it's probably like a 25% chance that they do that.
I mean, I suppose, but I mean, if Northwestern doesn't have a good season next year, I don't think, like David Braun, I just don't think doesn't have that kind of rope. This is something we talked about.
He doesn't.
We talked about months ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would they do that? Why would he not be, desperately trying to fix this?
somebody that we were chatting with various people through the week, and I thought this was a valid point that somebody made of like, hey, if I'm Mark Jackson, I tell Braun, listen, here's the expectation next year. You have to get to this level, and if you think you can do that with Zach Lujan and not lose the fans, go for it. And if you
are we going to get the Brian Ferentz ultimatum?
And if you can't, you better. I don't not a stupid points per game thing, but more of like 7 wins. And this is where I do go to the Jay Sharman mantra. Like, you can be good and boring. You can be bad and really exciting. You cannot be bad and boring, and especially not a program that has done everything it possibly can vis-a-vis stadium, money, etc. Bringing in, keeping a big-time athletic director in Jackson, all the stuff, everything that they've tried to do for the last 10 years, even going back to the indoor facility, has been in service of trying to be more than the occasional team that rears its head.
Well, there's the flip side of this too, which is like, you will find people in the Northwestern sphere who don't think Braun is safe right now. I'm on the fence. Yeah, I mean, I really, again, he's in my mind, he's earned it, and I want him to stay, and I really like this guy. But I mean, like, we don't know anything. I mean, it's like, Lujan yes, Lujan no. We don't know Braun yes, Braun no. Like, we're not going to know these things probably until after the bowl game. And, in today's day and age, like, you've got just quarterbacks alone, you've got Bo's the only other quarterback we saw this year. Marcus Romaine was a big recruit who came in with some really touted stuff. Johnny O'Brien is this, like, local guy throwing the cover off the ball in Illinois for the past 3 years. And these guys are all going to be in the mix, and we're going to the portal too, so it all factors in, right? Like, whatever decisions are made, like, this stuff all rolls in. And again, that's why earlier saying just like put a pin in the fact that there are a lot of guys who we love on this team, and again, like, there will be plenty of time to honor those guys, like, post the season too. But it's like there are a bunch of guys who've played a lot of games in purple who've had really great careers that that on top of all of this stuff, like, seeing those guys finish up their careers in style with a bold win would just be something we all would really want to see.
Yeah. I'm going to throw one other thing out here on the coaching front. And this is some real, like, orangebloods.com energy here with which I say this. I think Mike Kafka is going to be available.
Well,
And I say that because it's not like he's interim coach of the Giants right now. It's not going great. There is certainly a good possibility of him having another OC opportunity in the NFL, but being a member of Andy Reid's tree right now is not the hotness that it once was, and I don't think he's going to get a lot of bites at head coach apples, which is his next opportunity. And that is just an interesting thing to realize is out there in the ether.
It's an interesting thing to realize that's out there in the ether, Scuzz. I don't know that we are first choice for Mike Kafka on this. Not to put the cart before the horse, but
fair point.
And yeah, before we get to that, because I think that's where we're going here in just a sec, but are you talking about him for OC or
no?
Okay,
head coach. I mean,
yep.
Yeah,
okay,
that's interesting.
I don't think he's coming to college to be an OC.
That's a different. It's different.
It's a different conversation.
It's a different can of worms, but
yep.
you're not wrong.
I think he can go get an OC job in the NFL if he wants it. I do not think that he's coming to college to be an OC. I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, the next role in his career is to be a head coach somewhere, and he's not going to get an opportunity in the NFL in 2026.
Yeah.
If you or a loved one is seriously injured by someone else's negligence, hire Kent Simpson of the Simpson Law Group. After over a decade prosecuting murder cases in Chicago, Simpson opened his own firm focused on wrongful death and personal injury cases. He specializes in car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and other transportation accidents, as well as construction accidents, medical negligence, slip and falls, product liability, and more. Millions recovered for clients. No fee unless he wins. The Simpson Law Group. Compassion, empathy, and vigorous advocacy. Go to simpsonlawgroup.com or call 312-332-2107 for a free consultation. And go Cats. Real quick before we get too far off the field, just kind of want to, I mean, we don't need to go through every game that happened in the conference this past week. Just kind of setting up the championship weeks, and maybe just mentioning a few other things. Just right off the top, you've got the Big Ten championship, Ohio State, Indiana, both 12-0. Indiana just laying the lumber to Purdue in a way that we all saw coming.
We talked about this before. Wasn't the spread like 30-something? It's like you think
28.
You think Signetti's stopping at 28 up? My God.
Nope.
Yeah, that was free money.
No, he sure 56-3.
Yeah.
It's like weather game.
Yeah, right.
I laugh at your weather game.
Yeah.
Iowa big over Nebraska. We mentioned that earlier. Ohio State, all over Michigan, 27-9. In the snow. That picked up as the game went on, but like they looked damn good.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was funny seeing. That Michigan team could have been up. What 21-10? They just couldn't
punch it in.
They couldn't punch it in, and it felt so reminiscent of us.
Where have we seen that before?
Yeah,
can't get it into the red zone.
Real quick on that Nebraska one.
Never gonna score.
The Nebraska. It is just wild. The Nebraska's season is ending with massive hand wringing amongst the fan base about Matt Rule. When earlier in the season, they lost a football game because they were afraid Matt Rule was going to leave. And it's like the roller coaster that is college football right now. It's just insane.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Oregon. Do you guys think? One other.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I guess I'm just feeling rivalsy tonight. Because this is another OrangeBloods.com energy comment. You think Dylan Raiola's coming back?
No,
his brother decommitted. I think he's out. I think
he's gone.
Yeah, probably.
I agree. I think I think 100% he's gone.
And the way these guys can command money in the portal, right?
His brother is not decommitting. That after Dylan gets hurt, a week or two later, his brother's like, "Deuces, I'm out of here."
Well. And you can't throw your hat into who gets to be Lane's LSU quarterback ring quickly enough. There can be only one, but who is it going to be?
What if he ended up in Indiana?
That's
Raiola
in play too. You're right.
Although I guess Mendoza's only a junior, but
I think he's a senior, isn't he?
I think Mendoza. I thought Mendoza was a senior.
I think he's a senior.
I'm looking at him. I'm looking at his card right now.
Well, and right now, Fernando Mendoza is getting top half of the first round draft buzz, so that's probably.
And
will
be in New York as a Heisman finalist. I mean, like I would be shocked if he came back, if we're being totally honest.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you're right. I mean, like,
hey Fernando, do you want to make $1.2 million playing for the Indiana Hoosiers and Kurt Signetti, or do you want to make more and have the worst year of your life in Cleveland?
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
Oregon beats Washington 26-14.
That one was interesting.
It was.
Late.
It was.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway watching that one is, and I feel like Northwestern fans don't need reminding of this, but there are times when Denzel Boston just can't be stopped, and that was rearing its head down the stretch of this game. But at the end of the day, Oregon can claim to be the third best team in the country. Like, whether that's actually true, who knows? But they're all they have is that Indiana loss there, and when they're on, they're on.
USC beats UCLA 29-10. I would have thought it would have been like they would have kind of laid it a little bit harder if they could have.
UCLA was winning at the half.
Yeah.
And they got smoked in the second half, but but yeah.
Minnesota over Wisconsin in the snow, 17-7. In the battle for bowl eligibility, I got to admit, like, I flipped to that game, the Penn State-Rutgers game, and was like, whoa, this is back and forth. I was not expecting that.
I just want to, like, so Wisconsin, Minnesota, yes, it's in the snow. Yes, it's in Minnesota. Wisconsin ran for 86 yards.
They're so bad.
On 28 carries against a team that we know does not have a good run D. And again, snow game, etc. But like, I cannot get over the fact that Luke Fickell is coming back next year to coach this Wisconsin team again.
I know, like,
right?
NIL is not everything. I mean, like, we've talked about the culture impact that's happened to this program. I know. I mean, it's amazing. They're going to run it back. Yeah.
And then Michigan State beats Maryland 38-28 and promptly fires Jonathan Smith.
Anything else happen after that? I don't know. And then what happened?
That's my transition.
Yeah.
So yeah, the thing we've all been kind of skating around and not putting words to just yet is Pat Fitzgerald was just hired as the head coach at Michigan State.
So before we say anything on this,
yes,
just like put aside everything about Pat Fitzgerald as a Northwestern coach, player, like all the nostalgia, all the anger, all the disappointment, all the excitement, like everything. Put aside all of it. Just pretend it doesn't exist. Is this a good hire for Michigan State?
No.
It's not.
So I'm like, it's so fascinating because if I was truly an impartial observer here, I would think it's fascinating because I see the range of possibilities as being great to awful.
Are you impartial and underinformed, or are you impartial and like well informed?
Well, so I was thinking about this, and again, it's like, it's so funny. It was like I was reading Stephen Ruiz's columns on TheRinger.com every week in the NFL and talking about like Shedeur Sanders and being like, no one is capable of having a rational take about Shedeur Sanders, regardless of what happens, regardless of what he does in a football game, positive or negative. And like, I almost feel like that's where we are with Pat Fitzgerald within like Northwestern Nation, where it's like,
yes, so well said.
Either people are ready to just run into a burning building for him, or people are like so angry and frustrated with how things went down the stretch on and off the field, and it's like, never the twain shall meet, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's where everything Scuzz said, where it's like you have to work to divorce yourself from this and like just look at it from like a football perspective. And I just see the range of possibilities as being so great. I think from a positive perspective, and obviously Michigan State's firmly in the honeymoon phase right now. But from a positive perspective, I mean, it's so easy to see how they ended up here. There is no coach more beloved by other coaches than Pat Fitzgerald. Mark D'Antonio almost certainly stumped for him really hard. Mark D'Antonio was almost like, you will not find a better hire. This is the guy. He builds culture. He's defensive minded, just like me. We share the same DNA. This is the guy that you want to hire. And then,
Tom Izzo was right next to him.
And Tom Izzo was right next to him the entire time. And
then Michigan State magically transported back to 2015.
Yeah, right. Well, that's
right.
Well, and then the
that's
other
the
thing,
other piece of it.
The other thing from like a positive standpoint, and I mean from like what Michigan State's hoping to get out of this is, the final stretch of his career accepted. This is a guy who won a boatload of games for a long period of time with the exact same talent pool that Michigan State wants him to pull players out of. He recruited from the same guys from the same high schools. It is mostly 3-star guys with some 4-star guys from the upper Midwest. That has been his base. It is his base. He has those relationships. The coaches at those schools love him. That all makes... like that's how they ended up where they ended up. And then, just like the culture piece of it and the way, a lot of people view him as like building that Northwestern culture and program building, et cetera. Those are all the yeses. That's how they got here. And then on the other piece
well, real quick, it's important to juxtapose how those yeses are all like direct pendulum swings from Jonathan Smith. West Coast guy, lacks all those connections. Offensive mind, not the defensive identity, history, culture that Michigan State aspires to. So you get can really understand the why here, and why now, and why they're looking at. I mean, like, to their credit, they're looking at Jonathan Smith after year 2 and making the decision that Wisconsin didn't.
Yeah,
and saying this is not the culture we want. This is not the right fit, and we are going to change and shift.
And that's the prism. And on the, like, you can look at it. I specifically think about how we talked about Tony White when he was hired as Nebraska's defensive coordinator a couple of years ago, with being like, that hire was so good because it represents a clear understanding of the ceiling of who you can get to come play at your football program. You are not going to be Michigan. You are not going to be shelling out that kind of money for those kind of guys. That's not who you are. And from that lens, the idea of like, well, let's go the other way then. Let's look at a guy who's minted a lot of success with the kind of guys that we think we can get. Like, that all makes perfect sense. Then you start mounting up all of these other things on the other piece of it, which is, right, like, one, the fact that beyond this idea of looking at recruiting stars and 3 and 4 star guys, etc., all the comparisons between these schools end there. And that you are pulling in a guy who has not won in a while and who in every way, like, who has fought the current era that we're in right now and is known to be a conservative, intractable guy, who's been out of football for a while, and you're bringing him in to this new environment and hoping that it works. Like, that's where the massive range of possibilities, because this could go great or it could go really wrong.
Yep, I think that's well said. I think like there's a channel where you are able to build a perfect balance between, you know, reestablishing that football culture that hasn't existed at Michigan State since D'Antonio left, the hard-nosed, blue-collar, defense mind, etc. Mind you, that's not how you win, how you get big-time wins in college football now. That's not how you beat Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State on a regular basis, which is what Michigan State aspires to. That's what they want. They want to be in the seat that Indiana is in. They're looking down. They're looking straight down, whatever it is, to Bloomington and saying, we want that. And that is not what Fitz is going to get them.
So you mentioned that, and just popped into my head. Kurt Signetti's opening press conference. I win. Google me.
Yeah.
And
go ahead and Google Pat Fitzgerald. See what happens.
The modern era was a struggle for him, and maybe this is so true in hockey, where I don't know that there's another sport where, because in the NBA the head coach has the role of the head coach has changed dramatically in the last 25 years.
It's like nothing except for a couple guys.
But in hockey, in the NHL, you see these guys go from team to team to team to team to team to team to team, and have success wherever they go. And like the new voice, the change in voice in the locker room is such a massive movement. And there is something about Fitz having been at Northwestern for so long, clearly frustrated with the criticism that he faced, with the media, with which is ironic given.
Well, I was going to say, you just teed me up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go there in a second, but clearly was, he like those first, I don't know, however many years, coached with a chip on his shoulder, instilling that in the team, a real lunch pail mentality, etc. And I'm not suggesting those things disappeared or went away, but they became less impactful, and you didn't see it translate to the performance on the field. And again, I think it was Ryan Lindley who I keep quoting every week, but he made a comment like if they get the fits of 2006 through 2017, like, wow, that could be really exciting for them. And if they get the fits of 2018 through 2022, like, yikes. And I think it's funny because if we were having this conversation about Northern Illinois, I think we would all be saying unequivocally, that is a great hire for Northern Illinois. This is going to go very, very well for them, given that what they want to ultimately achieve. I think Fitz could be wildly successful in the vein of what we have just talked about. And in 3 years, Michigan State is going to be, their fan base will be unhappy and unsatisfied because it's not going to look like Indiana.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We like NIU had been big when we were circling. Another one that we had been looking at was Air Force, because like Air Force isn't good right now. They could be making a coaching change, and Fitz at a service academy, like we all know, like everyone knows, Fitz at a service academy is an obvious fit, right?
Perfect fit.
Yeah, he's just it fits his mentality, it fits everything. And again, it's like we all know, like, and we talk about program, like we all know what Fitz built at Northwestern. He built this great thing, but on the basis of like all the stuff of being like, oh, we're turning in these seasons down the stretch, and it seems like, like this is, are we going to move on? Like, what is going to happen here, etc. Because we're just spinning our wheels at this point. Well, in all the most positive ways, we all know that so much of that was that Fitz had built a system where he was so beloved and had so much traction. That's all something that he built based on success at Northwestern. That doesn't transfer over to Michigan State. No one in Michigan State, you string a bad season or two together, like no one in Michigan State cares about anything he did at Northwestern if something like that happens. And the compounding factor with that is that I was looking at just the run-up when the news was starting to trickle out and everyone was sourcing and being like sourcing. Just the rumor mill was sourced to 3 different like hard-boiled professional journalists who cover Michigan State. That's just the initial lead up. That's not remotely dipping your toe in all of the full-time professional journalists who a huge part of their journalistic beat is Sports and MSU Sports. At Northwestern, as we all know, I mean, really, there's one full, like Matt Shelton right now. If we're talking about someone like full-time on a professional Northwestern beat, we all know like Louis has done a ton of stuff. But then you have a bunch of student journalists and people who like dip in. Michigan, like Michigan State sports is a totally different thing. Like there are going to be a ton of people who are going to be glued in on this. Not unrelated, Tom Izzo, I think, announced that he's retiring within a year, which makes Fitz the game in town at Michigan State. It's going to be a big focal point. It's going to be a big focal point and a lot of voices and a lot of eyeballs and a lot of opinions for a guy who is very much used to his status quo and his way not being challenged in much of a different way. And again, in the honeymoon phase right now, like that's all well and good. But I mean, it's the similarities and the thought process. It's really easy to see how Michigan State got here and was like, this could really work for us. And you know what? It may. And Fitz may have real success there. But there are some major caveats there. And again, this could really go any number of ways.
It'll be interesting to see him in a situation where he doesn't have the history there.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like,
right.
He came in as, the prodigal son come home, right? After the Rose Bowl and all that. And like the history that he built up at Northwestern gave him leeway to do whatever.
Well, and stepped up and met the moment
right.
in an awful time right after Walker had died, and was the youngest head coach in, I think, all of FBS, and figured it out on the fly. And he deserves a tremendous amount of credit
Absolutely.
for the way he went about that, regardless of what happened down the stretch. And I there is something to, again, much like the voice in the room changing for the players and that getting different outcomes, et cetera, there is something to the growth that happens when you go from one place to another place, and the diversity of thought that can come into play. And we talked about this all the time, that Northwestern staff was constructed only of Northwestern people for years and years, and the groupthink that can result and the echo chamber that can result. And may this move turn Fitz into a better coach. That would be something to see.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting to see how he builds his staff. It'll be real interesting to see how he hits the transfer portal right off the hop. I would not be surprised in the slightest if some of the guys for Northwestern, some of Fitz's guys, went to Michigan State. That would, not surprise me at all.
It would certainly, if there are guys with Michigan ties, guys that he recruited, and there's obviously still a bunch of guys on this team like upperclassmen who were recruited by Fitz or made that initial decision because of Fitz. So that piece is there. And then people have brought up, like, does he go looking for Tim McGarrigle as his DC? Obviously McGarrigle, played under him. Coached under him. Is that a factor? We mentioned Kafka earlier. Like, is that someone that Fitz goes, has that kind of relationship, goes looking at him as a potential offensive coordinator? Like, obviously this is the way of the world with the coaching carousel and everything, where it's like, we have all of these questions within Northwestern football. You're just trying to let this season breathe, and then this falls into our laps, and then this becomes like a giant thing, right? And we're all like dealing with this and et cetera. And it is what it is. But it's like this will be the thing. This is a couple big things. This is the start of Michigan State coach Pat Fitzgerald. And this is going to be a thing going forward, where it's like Pat Fitzgerald's a Michigan State man now. He is a state employee of the state of Michigan. That's another thing. He's no longer a private guy. All his salaries, everything like that, everything's public with Pat Fitzgerald now. Again, these are all these changes, all these things that will be different. But it's like, that's the thing. Like, going forward, it's Michigan State coach Pat Fitzgerald. And next couple of years, Pat Fitzgerald is going to be on the other sideline coaching against the Northwestern Wildcats. And the other thing is, for all of us, you listen to the pod, you've all been Northwestern fans forever, most of you, like all this collective history. Although some of you we've met at the tailgate, like younger. Every Northwestern senior at Northwestern, student, this coming year, will see Pat Fitzgerald coach a football game for the first time when Northwestern plays at Michigan State. It's like time moves quickly, and for the students who are at Northwestern right now, Pat Fitzgerald is not a thing they associate with Northwestern football, and they're going to make that connection for the first time when we go up against the Spartans this coming year.
I am very grateful that we do not host Michigan State next year.
Yeah, that would be a bit of a circus that
would be a massive circus.
Need.
Yeah,
and like, yes, it'll be a circus when we go to East Lansing. But the return visit won't be for at least another year or two. There'll be even more space. People will have gotten used to it. Mm-hmm. You will see where we are at that point. There will be feelings, I'm sure, when that happens. There will be feelings when it happens next year, when we go to East Lansing. I guarantee it. And that's just going to be a thing we're all going to have to sift through and negotiate and navigate. But at least we get a little bit of space before that happens at the new Ryan Field.
Assuming that Big Ten Media Days are in Chicago.
I mean, they went to Vegas last year. Who knows where they're going to
Yeah, you're right. They did. I was just seeing that. I was like, wait a minute. They were in Vegas? Well, if it happens in Chicago, that'd be pretty interesting. But who knows? It might be at the MGM again. Good God.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, it's a national league now, so they might go to, like, Madison Square Garden. Who the hell knows?
And then Big Ten Media Days. We're in Bloomington, Indiana.
I mean, if Kurt Signetti goes to and wins the Big Ten championship and just owns the state of Indiana forever, that could you imagine? Like, if Indiana wins this game on Saturday, Like,
by way of transition, like
yes.
I want nothing more. I want nothing more, and I'm so I know that they're banged up. I think is it Surratt who's been out for a few weeks and might be injured for the season. Ohio State is pretty healthy. God, I want nothing more than for Indiana to take it to Ohio State and be able to win this game. And I just don't know if it's possible, boys.
Ohio State's only a 4.5-point favorite. I thought it might be higher.
Surratt played against Purdue. That's huge. He hasn't played since
this
October.
This game will likely decide the Heisman Trophy, amongst other things, right? I mean, those are your top two.
You think so?
Yeah.
Sayin
and Mendoza.
Sayin.
Yeah. People love him.
For real?
Yep.
Good God. I mean, he was quite impressive.
Your three there are in downtown are going to be Sayin, Mendoza, and Diego Pavia almost certainly, because he's like the big dumper. It's like truly it's him. And
what about Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame?
Maybe.
No?
I don't know. Or Mateer. Not Mateer. Alabama's quarterback. What's his name? And that Alabama.
Jeremiah Smith won't split the vote.
I don't know. I mean, offensive.
Split the Ohio State vote.
No, yeah. I mean, they're all in play. I mean, I think, but I do
Ty
think
Simpson.
If Indy, I mean, if either Sayin or Mendoza has an awesome game in this game in a win, that will probably clinch it. Mendoza has Mendoza has. If Mendoza's incendiary in this game and it's close one way or another, it's probably his. But wow.
I mean, Mendoza's got the moments, like the Penn State drive.
The Penn State drive.
And like Sayin's been great. He has been great, but you can't like point to that play, right? You know, it's like this is the moment where Julian Sayin won the Heisman Trophy, whereas you can absolutely say that for Fernando Mendoza.
Right.
I mean, I just struggle when the best players on the team are clearly the wide receivers.
Yeah.
How can you give
the
QB? This is like when Miami's quarterback all those years ago. I'll never forget it. What was the name of Miami's QB when they won the national championship? It was like the best Miami team ever.
Ken Dorsey.
Ken Dorsey. I'll never forget this.
A button pusher. Insurance salesman.
Miami was playing Florida State, and Ken Dorsey throws a screen pass to Willis McGahee, who then runs 80 yards for a touchdown. And the announcers are just like, "Oh, Ken Dorsey does it again." I'm like, he didn't do fucking shit.
Yeah.
Willis McGahee just scored an 80-yard touchdown off of a screen pass. It has nothing to do with Ken Dorsey. I could throw that pass.
Well, also, too, it's like Sayin is young, and it's like, is this just going to be another – it's just going to be the Ohio State guy again? Like, that's what we're doing? Yeah. And, like, but we'll see. I mean, again, it's like this is a de facto national championship game, so it's
This is going to be a sick game. I have my wife is traveling this weekend, and I mean, I'm not going to tell them, but my kids will definitely be getting all the iPad time that they want on Saturday evening.
Nice. So yeah, we got the rest of championship week. Conference USA championship is Kennesaw State versus Jacksonville State. Okay,
Kennesaw State low key had a great season. This team was one of the very worst teams in all of the FBS as recently as like a couple years ago. So good for them.
And they're a 2.5-point favorite.
Yep.
You've got the Sun Belt which is Troy versus James Madison.
James Madison's like 11-1 this year or something. Just one more, like, that's still just the contrails of Kurt Signetti is like.
But their head coach just got hired by UCLA.
Yeah, I was just gonna say their head coach is going to UCLA. So that's, I mean, will he be coaching?
Yes, he will. Yes,
so that's interesting.
So James Madison and UCLA were like, yeah, go ahead and finish it out. Unlike certain other.
Well, it's also not an in-conference move, so I
sure.
can kind of understand it. I think similarly, Summerall is going to be coaching Tulane, isn't he?
Yes, he is. North Texas Tulane for the AAC. That'll be fun.
North Texas's coach has already gone too, right? I think. Like, wasn't he hired?
He's by Oklahoma State.
Oh yeah.
It's Eric Morris.
Yeah,
Chad Morris.
Tim. So it's all, and of course, if Tulane wins this game, at the end of the day, we will have lost in week 1 to a playoff team. They're going in if they win this.
The Mountain West is UNLV and Boise State. That's odd. UNLV's 10-2, Boise's 8-4, and Boise's hosting the Mountain West Championship.
Pretty impressive. Barry Odom moved on to Purdue, and UNLV won 10 games the season after. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. Big 12, that's gonna be a fun game. BYU Texas Tech.
Well, just got a lot more interesting too.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens.
Will it be a good game? Because when they played earlier, Texas Tech absolutely mopped the floor with BYU, and I feel like they might do it again.
I think it's that much more likely that they do it again because now it sounds like BYU's coach has one foot out the door. Yeah,
maybe
Satake is gone.
We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of chatter about Kalani Satake maybe going to Penn State.
Get your crumble cookie if you want him to stay at BYU.
Yeah, exactly.
Fill those coffers.
You've got the MAC championship, Miami, Ohio, and Western Michigan. Texas Tech is a 12.5-point favorite. That game's in Arlington, so it's a de facto home game for Texas Tech. I'm sure BYU will travel, but it's
the last time Texas Tech was like in this kind of rarefied air. I mean, it's been a minute. It was like Michael Crabtree years. That year that they beat Texas and lost to OU, and all three of them were, I think, just had one loss, and they got aced out of the BCS at the end of the day. The Texas Tech folks have not experienced something of this order in a long time, and they are going to stampede their way into Cowboy Stadium.
I wonder if they'll be allowed to throw tortillas on the AT&T Stadium.
I would imagine no.
Like I said, Miami, Ohio, Western Michigan is the MAC championship. Western Michigan is a 2.5-point favorite. It's the winner of this game plays in the Detroit Bowl, I believe, and I'm seeing a lot of the projections of maybe in Northwestern versus Western Michigan in Detroit. We'll see.
The PJ Fleck Bowl, running it back. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Your SEC championship, Georgia, Alabama. Bama gets in after their win in the Iron Bowl.
Just every year. I mean, isn't it? No shade to the LSU Tigers, who a lot of people are talking about, but it's like Georgia, Alabama. Don't we do this like every year?
It's wild. A&M loses one game to Texas.
Yep.
And Bama leapfrogs them for the SEC championship game.
Yep.
It's wild. We talked about Indiana, Ohio State, and then the ACC championship, Virginia versus Duke.
Duke,
Duke.
We played Duke so many times during the Big Ten West era that they were almost like an honorary Big Ten West team, and nothing's more Big Ten West than Duke getting into the championship game with the record that they have right now.
Yeah. That is very Big Ten West, but here's what's not Big Ten West, is that Darian Mensah
Lord have mercy.
threw for 3,500 yards and 28 touchdowns this year.
I mean,
only 4 picks.
It looked like they were going to waste this ungodly good performance.
It's kind of the opposite of Big Ten West, because Duke has been so abysmal on the other side of the ball that they have almost wasted this incredible, like probably the best QB performance they've had in years. I mean, these are better numbers than Daniel Jones put up.
Right. It's like, it's wild too. Like, how did 4 games ago they lost to UConn, and they lost to this very same Virginia team the week after that, and they're playing for an ACC championship. They have 5 losses. It's incredible. But I mean, I have no idea. They got
beat. They got doubled up at home against Virginia.
Yeah, it's
4 games ago.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So I mean, Virginia's probably going to win this, but why can't Mensah throw for 400 yards and win Duke an ACC title? He absolutely can.
Yeah. So yeah, that's championship week. We mentioned the coaching carousel a little bit. A lot more yet to come.
It's now granted we're looking at this through Northwestern colored glasses, but only like this year, Pat Fitzgerald coming out of coaching to go coach Michigan State. And that's barely a blip in the Renaissance that is going right now. Everything else is a drop in the bucket of like the Lane Kiffin universe of right now. It's hilarious. I was listening to someone talk about today that it's like they literally just released a Lane Kiffin documentary, and like this is an entire documentary in and of itself too. It's like, what a soap opera.
Man, well, I mean, like, hasn't his whole career been a soap opera, right?
Like this should be a surprise to nobody.
100%.
Like leaving Tennessee after that one season, the wild foray into the NFL. I mean, like a guy who's been fueled by ego and drama every step of the way. The wild years at Alabama, where he reinvented Alabama's offense underneath Nick Saban, and then was kind of unceremoniously kicked to the curb for just being an a-hole.
Right.
I don't know.
This guy has burned every single bridge he's ever come to, and the expectation is absolutely that he will win at least one national title at LSU. It's like what a figure.
Man, it is. I did like I think this was in the Dan Wetzel article today on ESPN, but there's a quote something to the effect of like, he's leaving the only nationally relevant team he's ever coached to maybe do better at a different one. So I mean, who knows? Like obviously LSU got their guy and they're really excited about it, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun to watch no matter what.
Absolutely.
I texted you guys this earlier today, and it touches on both the Lane Kiffin and Pat Fitzgerald elements, and that is like what happened to Brian Kelly? Because I thought much like James Franklin, who landed immediately at Virginia Tech, I thought surely Brian Kelly would land somewhere. Michigan State actually made a ton of sense in that vein, given his ties to that state, etc. And like you can have all the love you want for Pat Fitzgerald. Like, there's no arguing that he has a better track record than Brian Kelly from a coaching standpoint. And now that being said, like as a culture builder, and I mean Kelly's got some real toxicity based on his sideline demeanor and some other things. But it's just like I thought his name was going to be in the mix for like 8 of these jobs, and he's MIA.
Well, we're so used to just raw wins carrying the day, and Brian Kelly has just stacked wins. But you do wonder, though, where it's like Pat Fitzgerald had 1 million people recommending him to Michigan State, and Brian Kelly had no one, because no one likes Brian Kelly.
Agreed.
And everyone likes Lane Kiffin, though. I mean,
Lane is a one of one. There's
Lane has, I mean, to his credit, Lane has put it all out there on the field and has earned his shot, if you will.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be real interesting to see. I mean, like I say, this is Black Monday, right? This is where we're seeing so many of these coaching changes happen quickly. Like Jonathan Smith was fired 5 hours later. Pat Fitzgerald's the head coach at Michigan State. So, lots going to happen fast. So we'll be sure to kind of keep our eye on it. Obviously, next week when we come back, we'll know Northwestern's bowl opponent and destination. So we'll have that to talk about. We'll see if any more resolution, any more any more bricks to fall on anything else that we might have coming down the pike.
There will be, no doubt about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But we do need to move on and talk a little basketball, because yes, we did have the It was late. It was late at night when Northwestern tipped off against Oklahoma State at the United Center. I believe, after 9 p.m. was when it started, local time?
On Thanksgiving
night.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did not
paid attention for like 2 minutes and fell asleep.
Did not watch. Yeah. Tryptophan was well in control at that point.
Oh, yeah. And you guys were both on the East Coast, so I was able. I watched most of it, and I think I definitely caught the end. I was the last one awake in the house for sure. Just like, I just got to catch the end of this. Got to catch the end of it. But in any case, Northwestern loses to Oklahoma State 86-81. Back and forth game, like the entire way. This was back and forth. Man, Northwestern shot 17% from three.
Yeah.
And lost by 5.
Yeah, that was, pretty much the difference. I think obviously because every season now in the Collins era, we're trying to get to the tourney every year. That is a routine thing. And obviously the margins are always going to be tough. And every game that's a potential big win is always an opportunity. Oklahoma State's a very good basketball team, and Northwestern played them tight the entire way. And the 3-point shooting let us down a little bit, but this is, again, it's like this will be one of so many of these knockdown dragouts that this team is in. And Nicky Buckets had a great game. Hey,
we didn't get killed on the boards.
Right.
It was 39-31. We lost the rebound, but that's close. That's not like the massively tilted rebounding numbers that we've seen in the previous weeks or previous games.
Yeah, like you said, the 3-point shooting. They didn't shoot the three well particularly either. But again, it's like in this young season, it's too early to know. Singleton took 5, made none. Will he even take that many ever in a game again? Who knows? This team is still going to be figuring out a lot of different pieces of this. And yeah, you look back and be like, man, this would have been at the United Center. This would have been a massive win. And we were in it for so long. But Oklahoma State just might be a very good basketball team. And obviously
there's no might about it. They are a very good basketball team.
Right. So, it's like that was one of a big punch that we threw, and it didn't go our way. But they don't stop coming. Let's put it that way. There's plenty more meat on the bone. There's nothing but big opportunities coming here.
Yeah, coming up on Wednesday when we get our little December Big Ten action when we head up to Madison to take on the Badgers. Wisconsin, right now also 5-2 on the year. They've got losses to BYU and TCU. They are putting up points. They put up 104 against Providence, 94 against SIU Edwardsville, 86 against Ball State. Maybe not.
You know what's notable about their 2 losses though? Not back and forth games. Check out the game flow. They were well behind the entirety of those 2 games, and I think the opportunity here. So that yes, Wisconsin has put up a ton of points. They've scored more than 85 points in every single game but one, and actually they've scored more than 95 in every single game but 2. I'm sorry, that's not true. I hate when ESPN flips the scores when they lose. Anyway, point being, they score a lot of points. They're averaging a ton of points.
So they're averaging 87 points a game. We're averaging 82 points a game.
But bring a strong defense against them, and I think we can take control of this game. I don't think it has to be a back and forth affair.
I just think it's that here comes a potential Northwestern Wisconsin track meet. That we're saying this relative to
never hear.
Relative to not just relative to basketball, relative to any sport.
Just like football, right, boys?
Yeah, right. I'm like, it's like we're used to these games. I swear to God, in the Carmody era, there was some game that we lost 40-35 or some ridiculous thing like that against Wisconsin. This ain't that. These teams are going to be running up and down the court, but it's funny because obviously we all know, and this kind of goes to everything that we said, that between the football season being between the end of the season and bowl game and everything that just happened with Pat Fitzgerald, there is suddenly a lot of oxygen getting sucked out of the room. But this week should all be about hoops. This is two big time Big Ten games for a team that clearly has a ton of potential and clearly is gonna really get out and run. Like Wisconsin and Ohio State on the 3rd and the 6th, like these are big ones. Like this week is a Northwestern basketball week.
Yeah, Ohio State is 6-1 on the year. They're putting up points too. They're scoring 88 points a game, and only giving up 67 points a game. So a bit more defense. Their one loss was a 1-point loss to Pitt.
It's amazing. Like these are like it's just that we know that both of these games, win or lose, are likely going to be just up and down, up and down, up and down. And that's not to say we don't play great defense, especially on the perimeter, but like we are going to be pushing pace in these games, and so are they. This is probably going to be some really good basketball.
Yeah, so Wednesday night, 8 o'clock on Big Ten Network. Saturday, 1 p.m., Big Ten Network, or get up to Evanston.
Yeah.
Get there, because that should be a wild Welsh Ryan Arena experience, because it's end of finals week maybe? Beginning of finals week? Students should still be on campus, I think. So, you get a live student section going on there. Ooh, that'll be a fun environment.
Yeah, and it's warm in that stadium too. I'm thinking right now.
And you'll get an up close look at Ryan Field. As the skeletons coming together. It's looking more and more like a stadium. The roof is on. Everything's coming together.
The entrance to Welsh Ryan now is pretty sweet. The kind of the upper deck of the new Ryan Field kind of hangs over your head as you're going in. There's really kind of like a cavern there, almost like a tunnel almost when you're walking in. It's cool. Yeah, if you haven't gone, it's your first chance to sample that.
Anything else to mention before we get out of here tonight?
Just this Fitz thing is obviously a huge Titanic thing. Like, everyone just take a breath. It's Pat Fitzgerald's at Michigan State. Yes, that seems like this enormous thing that's hard to wrap your head around, and immediately everyone's looking ahead to being like, oh, when do we play them and everything? And it's like, everyone just
if we're being honest, not as much as everyone at Ole Miss is, counting the days till LSU comes calling.
It's all relative. We could all be in the SEC. So, everyone just take a breath, take a beat. We're all going to move forward. Those days we'll get to them. They're not tomorrow. This will all unfold in time.
So with that, we'll go ahead and leave it there for tonight. Head to our website, westlawpirates.com, where you can leave comments and questions. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, at Westlaw Pirates, and email us, westlawpirates@gmail.com. Tune in next time as we give our visceral and statistical views on Northwestern athletics, and look for us in the west lot of Ryan Field flying the red pirate flag, because we give no quarter, especially the fourth. For John Lacombe and Eric Scousby, I'm Sam Walter. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.